Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, our good friend Jonathan Griffiths. How you doing? Our
Good morning, good
carnivore
afternoon.
muscle man. Good afternoon to around the globe. Hope everyone's doing well. It's 6 a.m. Pacific time, 9 a.m. Eastern time. What time is for you there, Jonathan?
It's 2 p.m. in the afternoon.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And we welcome everyone. Thanks for stopping in. We got George here. We got Aaron. Roxanne, Lizzie, Brian, good morning. Amanda, good morning. I was on with Mitch this morning. Mitch, Peter, Mike, and Rick were on this morning and sharing our thoughts and ideas of carnivore. And Jonathan was gracious enough to be on with me yesterday. And what are we talking today about, Alia?
How to exercise and gain muscle without hurting yourself at all ages. Age
Yeah.
appropriate exercise.
Yeah, Jonathan, welcome, welcome. So tell us a little bit about how you managed to get in this muscle building world, carnivore world, and health and wellness world. Would you please?
Sure, yeah. I started my bodybuilding journey when I was about 13, 14 years old. It's about 16, 17 years ago. Um, my brother was going for about 2 years before me, and he's about 6 years older, so he is already a bit of a pro before I sort of joined the gym. I was overweight when I started, I was obese, and I was just looking for ways to sort of like have a bit of a social outlet, get a bit fitter, and develop strength, fitness towards like sports and things. There's actually a lad at my gym, so like maybe a year or two older, and he was competing in bodybuilding. So, he'd have been maybe 16 when I was getting more involved in it, and I'd been about 15. And I was like, I'm getting better results than this guy, but it's not like I'm a genius or anything. By that point, I wasn't nutritionally trained, wasn't an expert in terms of like world class training systems and programming, anything like that. I was just a novice. So I thought, well, this is interesting. It turns out there's something called genetics, and
Ooh,
I was quite fortunate to have pretty good genetics for bodybuilding. I'm not elite here in terms of like the best 1% top 10 in the world, but there is certainly a genetic spectrum with what we can achieve in terms of bodybuilding. Then years went by. I then went to get my degree as a nutritionist in Bath University, and since then I've been sort of progressing, learning, educating myself, surrounding myself with people much smarter than I am. Harris Panos, Spark K, lots of different people to just learn different ways to get the job done. And I've since encountered some different health difficulties, namely CRPS, chronic fatigue, a failed back surgery, and I live with autism as well, as a point of reference. So I come from quite a diverse background. Should I say neurodiverse background? So I'm a bit nuts like the rest of us. So here I am now, 6.5 years into carnivory, and following a strict animal-based diet with Pepsi Max. Very important, I like that. And yeah, I'm doing quite well. And I've just recently won a pro card in professional bodybuilding. So as of current this time, I am the first professional carnivore bodybuilder in the world.
wow, wow. You labeled yourself with some diseases. Uh, are these? I look at all the things that we label as sort of badges of courage. That these are outside labels, but they're not what really is our inside physiology. And tell me, because I've always concerned about ADHD, OCD, depression, dyslexia. I used to have terrible back problems, mental problems, and I think we're all a little bit on the spectrum. Can you comment about how these labels have actually helped inspire you to what you're doing and sharing with others that may have the same labels?
Yeah, so my inspiration draws from not wanting to be like everyone else. I want to be a quack like Rick, my own quack, you know? So in that sense, I don't associate with these things as, oh, I'm autistic, this is my future, this is where I'm going to end up. You can look online statistically, the average person with, like yourself, Dr. Kiltsbury, ADHD, people like myself, autism, chronic fatigue, all these things are just little labels that sort of point towards a diagnosis, which show how we exhibit ourselves physically, mentally, spiritually, or I guess you could say cognitively. So they're all just labels at the end of the day. Now, I did not want to be like everyone else. I did not want to be like everyone else. That's the last we want to be able to be doing. We can look around us out there, outside of the carnivore sphere, if that's a word, and see a lot of people aren't happy and they're not healthy. So something they're doing is wrong. So that inspired me to sort of follow a different dietary approach, a different training approach, and try and see things in a different light. And my biggest problem when I was younger is that I was stuck in an echo chamber of misinformation. I didn't know. I was doing the chicken, broccoli and rice diet, all that stuff. So this is why things like this, these communities, these group talks, discussions, forums, Facebook groups, pages, chats, there's so many of them online now, but that's helpful because we're all keeping ourselves on that wheel of, progression and ultimately just trying to be our best human self, in my opinion.
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure out there to fit in with the standard, and in the bodybuilding world, is carnivore, thought to be like, oh my God, you got to do this, or is it still kind of like an outlier?
It's very much an outlier. If there are carnivore bodybuilders out there, I probably know them. I'm probably coaching some of them, or I've probably met them in some kind of avenue online. It's still very much niche. I might approach obviously we all have our niche interests, so you might like Japanese cooking, you might like carnivore diet, you might like building sheds, you might like chasing iguanas around and shooting ducks, I don't know. We've all got our little niche interests. So we're going to follow these things online, these groups, these videos, these subscriptions, these channels, live chats and things. In these live chats in bodybuilding, I see so much misinformation. And it's frustrating because I want to come out there and say, look, there's a better way than what you're doing. You're looking at the wrong health metrics. Your diet maybe is missing critical animal fats. You're supplementing a real food diet with fake food, duck food. So we're not... I see a lot of pitfalls and I think there's a better way to do it. So obviously by default of having my health conditions, I'm looking for a way to use that as a platform to leverage my own ideas onto other people. It's not because I know all the answers, but I want myself to show myself as someone that's pioneering this thing in my little tiny niche in the world, to show people it's done, and it has been done. So anyone out there that's saying, oh, but you need to do this amount of carbs pre-workout, you need to add fruit and honey and do the pool salad and this stuff, you don't. It's not a must. It may be an option on the table for you. We're on the sort of animal-based spectrum in terms of our food intake, but ultimately we're looking at a way to just live a bit better. And if it came out that a carnivore diet was the worst thing to do down the line, then yeah, I'd stop if it was the worst thing. But unfortunately, or fortunately, that has not been the case. We've got too much science now to sort of back it up. I mean, we can look at Dave Mack's channel. Nearly 2,000 interviews, different health problems, all put into remission or improved because of a carnivore animal-based diet. So that's saying something. When you've got that many people coming out and through their own prerogative just to share their positive success stories, that speaks volumes about what the carnivore diet can do, because a lot of these people aren't actually having a financial incentive. So if you looked at all of Dave Mack's channels and all of the interviews, most of these people aren't influencers. They're not educators like myself or yourself, Dr. Kiltz. They're not content creators, channel creators affiliated like Alia is, sort of thing. So they're just average random people out there in the world saying, get on this, I live better and feel better for it. So that's been my experience.
Well, I think the stories, science to me is just another story. And I think we're forgetting that it's the experience like yourself, that you're telling a story online and showing the benefits of how well you've done. And we're seeing more and more stories. I don't know, it'd be interesting to look at sort of the number of carnivore online 20 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, And then every year since, what more and more people were seeing is that the simplicity of carnivore. You were just in a bodybuilding competition. Can you tell us a little bit about what you need to do to get ready for these competitions, and
Yeah.
how carnivore really has been a powerful for you?
Yeah, so a lot of bodybuilders out there, anyone that's ever met a bodybuilder in a contest prep phase, 4 weeks out, oh, I feel terrible. Oh, I'm starving hungry, I can't sleep at night, all these sort of things. I don't really have the satiety problem because I'm eating the right food. Now, I don't have that satiety problem because I'm eating a high meat diet. However, the thing is, when you get to very low body fat percentages, you have this like energy hunger, which kind of speaks to what you say, Dr. Kiltz, about, you need the fat. And the thing is, you do need the fat. The problem is, which I want to make very clear in this part of the segment of the chat, is that most people have too much fat on their body, which is why they're unhealthy. So if you're diabetic, if you're dealing with peripheral neuropathy, if you're dealing with any sort of condition which is interlaced with the idea that high inflammation is apparently a good thing, which we know it's not, we know what we need to omit the carbohydrates as best as we can, and that leaves us with a protein and fat diet. So that's been kind of my experience in that regard, and I'd probably say the preparation phase, and this is true for everyone, and I'll go out on a limb and say this is true for everyone, not just me, it's not a unique n equals 1, is the mass balance model. You guys need to look this up. It's probably the most useful thing in dietary science that there is out there. So it talks about, we have a protein amount and a fat amount. Our bodies recognize that. We have vitamins, minerals, amino acids, fatty acids that are contained within these foods. If we have enough in our body will reward us. So we'll be able to reproduce. Human nature is to reproduce. It's to survive and thrive. Now, if we're missing these critical nutrients, we're not going to be able to do it very well. So that in turn kind of leads to the point of the ultra-processed foods. This is common in the typical sort of bodybuilding space. If I go to a bodybuilding show, I did one, was it last weekend, and a few weekends before that, and a few weekends before that, they actually actively promote, now this is the federations themselves, the organisers, they actively promote junk food. You've won your show, Mr. Griffiths, me. Here, buy a cookie from our salespeople at the show. Buy this loaded box of sugar, basically. It's amazing because I'm like, these some of these fitness associations and federations, they'll be called something fitness, athletic, health, and it's like, how was healthy promoting junk ultra processed food? And that's the problem that we have, is that these foods are made to be addictive. They're made to be ultra processed, and millions and millions, actually I'd say billions, are invested into the research of creating these foods in such a manner to maximize profits at our loss, our cost. So you think you're getting good quality product, you're not, you're being conned. So buying these processed ultra foods is deleterious to our health. Food should not have labels. It shouldn't have this panel of things with this allergen and this allergen. It should just be ground beef, 95-80% lean, whatever. Wild caught salmon from Alaska or whatever. That should be it, and it should say grams of ingredient. So yeah, I think that's where we're going wrong mostly.
Ultimately, profitability is key to all of our lives, but are we more focused on the profits? And even when we go to Hack Your Health or Meat Stock or all these events, we're focused on sometimes some products that might not be necessary or in our best interest. And I'm not claiming anything special on our side, but there are many products that we don't need, but we're pushed into them. Protein powders.
Yeah. They can be a cost-effective option for some people in a pinch. They're probably a bit better than eating a sugar powder. Cream of rice is mainstay in most bodybuilders' diet nowadays, which is just pure carbohydrate essentially. There's certainly a vested interest. So we could look at, for example, Doritos, you know them, the tortilla chips and that things. $30 million each year is invested into actively making them as addictive as humanly possible. That's one brand producing one food item. So think everywhere you go, you know, fried chicken, Popeyes, I don't know, Pop Tarts, Dunkin' Donuts, whatever you can imagine there, it's processed food. All of these companies actively have nutritionists, or nutrition scientists, I should say, who are trying to sort of make these foods hyper-palatable for their profit. And that is also interlaced closely with Big Pharma. So we can look at, for example, even the studies, so even the science we read, the information out there is propagated by a bias panel. So, you know, Professor Bart Kay, he does all these like great funny talks. He's a good friend of mine, sort of thing. We've known each other for I've known him, been watching him for about 8 or 9 years, and he's always
Yeah.
had the same sort of opinion. And so in some end of some of his videos, anyway, he'll go through, he'll say stuff and say this study says this. In the end, he's got like a Star Wars, like, you know, when it scrolls down the screen of all the big pharma sort of companies that are sponsoring this scientific study, this food, whatever it is. And you're like, well, they're selling something to prevent damage done from that. It's just a everlasting, perpetual circle of failure. And the thing is, I don't want people to go out there and think, oh, this guy's anti everything that you eat, sort of thing. But the thing is, it's not everyone's fault. How is a single human being meant to actively, protect themselves from this fast food if they've got billions of dollars being spent in their opposition? So that's why these communities are important. That's why we have to. I feel a moral obligation at this point to create content. I don't make much money from YouTube, maybe $100 a month or something. I'm not actively sat here thinking, oh, I'm going to rake it in now. You know, I'm minted. I'm not by any means. But sharing this information is important because, you know, it will always be passed forward. So, for example, George, we've got on the screen now, talking about the bliss point. That's it, the bliss point. Cheers, George. So the bliss point is when you eat something, oh, I like that, but it does not satiate you, which is why you can say, I went to McDonald's and I had some French fries and I enjoyed them at the time. 10 minutes later, I was hungry again. You know, it just goes on and on and on. And so you never actually end up feeling satiated. Your hunger signals are never met, and you just sat there with a dopamine hit that is not appropriate with what is in line with what is ancestrally known or understood biologically. We never had like a massive dopamine hit when we're chasing woolly mammoths. We thought, great, I've caught the big animal, I'm eating the meat, I'm eating the fat, I might be able to keep some aside, smoke it, store it somehow, I don't know, find a way to cook it, brine it, pickle it, age it, ferment it, I don't know. But that was it. That was as far as it went. Now we idolise these foods so much that it's just become a mainstay no matter what industry you're in. You go into any health club, here's a protein bar, here's a sugar water, here's your Lucasade. You know, it's a con. And I don't want people to be conned. Like I said, I have a moral obligation at this point to share my knowledge as best as I can, and hopefully this sort of chat with you and Ally will be useful to people.
Yeah, I think this conversation is always useful. We're sharing around the world, and you know, I've traveled. I got a chance to meet you in England recently, and it's happening all around the world. What about, you know? It's interesting how fast food, or you know, food, we don't hunt for it, we don't prepare it, and it's just delivered to us. And it's difficult even for carnivores to stay away from it because of mass marketing and that bliss point, as you mentioned and George mentioned. You know, processed food companies add protein now is the new sort of healthy thing, but ultimately no other animal looks for powdered anything.
No, we've all got our species ideal design of foods that we eat locally, seasonally, what's around us, what we can achieve and catch. If we cannot do that, we cannot sustain our life. We've failed our evolutionary adaptation. Unfortunately, because of accessibility, which is too great in my opinion, we can now access any food we want. I can access food that was in the diet of a man that lived in, I don't know, Norway, or a man that lives in Mexico, any time of the day that I want. You know, the accessibility is part of the problem. So, yeah, I'd certainly agree.
And I'm not chastising any of that. We're just sort of telling stories so that, we want to be healthy, utilize the God given beauty of the life we're living. And now we have social media. And what an amazing thing that you in England, Ali in South Africa right now, me in California, USA, can share the stories and bring on our friends
Yeah.
around the globe to share how important it is. Like North Dakota Lance, right? It is pretty remarkable how we're doing this. Do people have to go to a gym, Jonathan, in order to begin to gain the work of bodybuilding, mindset building, and improving their lives in health and wellness?
No, and honestly, if I had it my way, Dr. Kiltz, I'd be out there in the sun, grounding, my top off, wearing boxers probably, or briefs, or shorts probably. Well,
Yeah.
it depends on kind of how hot it is, but how much of a tan I wanted to get, I guess. But I'll be out there sort of grounding, getting sun, and I'll be resistance training, and I'll be doing ideally some sort of workout with equipment that I like. But the equipment itself isn't critical. I've made home workout videos and stuff where you could probably get about 80% of the results you'd get as a professional bodybuilder in a state-of-the-art training facility. So no, I'd say you don't need specialist equipment. And I'd argue probably all you need is like a resistance band or something, or just a dumbbell, even just something. You can achieve a lot that way. And obviously, as you get to a greater degree of muscularity, your body's going to fight you harder to stop you getting more muscular. So, law of diminishing returns. But anyone out there can build a good, strong, athletic, fit, most importantly, physique to carry out the day tasks that they need to carry out with next to nothing. I mean, you got a dumbbell there, but that's extra. You've got more than what most people need. So, yeah, look at those
Yeah,
triceps.
we talked a little bit about how people can do simple things that don't take much work, right? I mean, even a chair, right? Uh,
You can
and
do
our
dips, push-ups.
right,
Yeah, yeah, it
so
does not take a lot.
and I don't know anyone that doesn't have a chair. And certainly, you can even use the floor and our body weight. What are your thoughts on number of meals a day and of fasting? Do you add these to your mix of carnivore?
So the meals per day thing is an individual factor. There's no hard rules. Sean Baker might eat 2 meals per day. I eat 4. I've got to eat a lot more food than Sean Baker and Dr. Chafee and all these people to sustain my muscle mass. Relative to my height,
Oh
I'm
wow.
6'1". I eat a lot of food. People don't quite realise until they see me snacking down a half kilo of meat in about 3 minutes. You know.
Oh wow.
So in your stomach, guys, you've got about 400 milliliters of capacity. Any further than that, you'll activate what's called a stretch reflex. You want to kind of get to that bliss point where it sort of said, my stomach's full, I've eaten enough food. Now, if I'm trying to go beyond that and eat my full, I don't know, 1.6 to 2 kilos, whatever it is, meat per day, I'll be bloated all day. I'm not going to feel good. But I'm trying to achieve something which isn't typical, you know? That's why I don't suggest people eat 4 meals a day. If you're my size, yes. You resistant training, yes. You'll have to eat more food. Just because, you need more meals to fit more food in it. It's logical. But most people out there, 1, 2, maybe 3 meals a day is about normal. Most people I come across tend to eat about 2. I'd say most people out there should probably be eating about a pound of meat per day or more. The smaller you are, the less you need. The bigger you are, the more you need. When that
Hmm.
meal
Hmm.
starts to come to the point where you feel a bit bloated, split up into 2, maybe 1 meal and a snack. But in terms of like the critical importance of it, no, it's not significantly important to eat 3 versus 4 versus 5 versus 6 meals. The there's something called the anabolic leucine threshold, which is a trigger, or so-called trigger, of muscle protein synthesis. So that's a signal that your body will have in order to activate something called mTOR, which is a signaling hormone, which I guess you could say, it's like a reaction your body has in response to having enough food on board. And when that is active, you are in what's called an anabolic state. When that isn't active, you're in a catabolic state. So you got to think, well, how am I going to get an anabolic state? You're going to raise the protein within your diet to a point that is sufficient to recover your muscles, so your body has a signal to say, oh, I've got enough to build more. But too much more than that is potentially deleterious, because your digestion will slow down, and then you won't be able to get the fat in. So your fat absorption will then be impaired. So it's at least to a bodybuilding degree, it's a careful titration and N=1 experiment, which is why I tell people I can't give you a diet plan. You know, people ask me all the time in my inbox, hi, I'm 65, my name's Jim from, I don't know, Carolina. How much protein should I eat? I don't know. Are you as tall as Rick? Are you like 6'7"? Are you as tall as Ali is, sort of thing? Who are you? I don't know. And I could give you a rough guideline, but there are always outliers. So that's why it's so individual. But yeah, I would say it's not critical to eat lots of meals. I just do because it works better for me. Oh, thanks so much,
Julie. Yeah. Should we take some questions?
Yeah, let's do some questions here. It was really good. Thanks, Jonathan, for taking the time to be here.
Yeah, thank you. Esparza, for Jonathan, do you do high weights, low rep, or low weights, high rep for weight training?
None. I don't perform reps. I perform what I call progressive overload and tension. So I don't count reps personally, I count time. The reason being is that you can accurately measure what 1 second is for a period of movement. So think, it's like me saying to you, Dr. Kiltz, I want you to run a 100-meter sprint, or do whatever you're doing now for triceps. But what I want you to do is count how many stars you can see in the sky. It can't be done. It can't be done. There's no metric, because there's no way of quantifying it. There's no measurable factor. Now, if I say I want you to time how long it's taking to do that, so if I say do 5 seconds up, 5 seconds down, you can look at a clock, a stopwatch, something like a timer, and say, okay, my metric is 5 up, 5 down. So over time, you might say I'm going to do, 10 of them. That's going to give you, say, 50 seconds. So say you've done that, you get to that failure point, you can't lift it anymore, and it's not safe. That's your limit. You might hope next time, if you've eaten enough protein, you've recovered well, you're feeling good, you're in a good state, you've got the sort of mindset to progress forward. Next time, I'm going to go for 52 seconds, 53 seconds, 54. So you can quantify what you're doing. In terms of what I do extremely heavy weights for a very long time. That's always the goal. But my sort of bracket personally, if someone wants an objective number, is between 60 and 120 seconds per set. And that is what I do for each muscle group. However, the volume side of it, so how many times you do those sets, is a very individual factor. I might do maybe 6 to 10 sets 3 times per week. That'll take me less than an hour. Someone else on here might do, I don't know, 6 days a week. They might do 20 sets. So that's where individual tolerable recoverability comes in. So that's why, again, I can't prescribe someone a training program without the back and forth, the sort of N=1, the experimentation side of things. And the only way you can do that is with time and patience. So you've got to be mindful that building muscle is a slow process. I'd suggest something like maybe 100 or 200 grams per month of muscle gain is possible. So less than half a pound of muscle per month is possible for most people. Obviously, the bigger you get, the muscular you get, the less that amount will be. So quantifying that is going to be a really difficult job. Unless you've got a DEXA scan, you're measuring things, you've got probes and stuff in you, you're not going to be able to quantify that, because that's a small amount. Imagine, now, Ali, imagine you've got like half a pound of beef mince on you. You put that all over your body.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to. I won't see that. I won't see that. You won't feel that in clothes. People saying, "Oh, but how do your clothes fit?" Yeah, how do your clothes fit? But you're going to have to make like a memory, like a memento, like a note sort of thing in your head of how it fits month to month to month. Saying,
Right.
"Oh, I'm going to see how my clothes feel each day." You're not going to notice that. It's not going to be trackable. It's
No.
so minuscule, that muscle mass. So that's why I say to people, look, I know people watching this chat, they might have goals to build a lot of muscle. You're going to get there quicker and to a better degree if you track things. So if you're out there spinning your wheels, you've been doing a carnivore diet for 12, 18 months, and you're thinking, I'm going to get from A to B, building lots of muscle and losing fat, but you're not quantifying what you're doing, you're not measuring what you're doing, you don't know where to make changes in your program. So flip-flopping from one day you're going to do sardine fast, the next day you're going to do a 3-day fast, water fast, dry fast, one day I'm going to do OMAD. You're putting all these experiments and problems into the equation, but you don't know
Right.
what thing's going to work. It's like going to the dentist and saying, I want a tooth out. Then you go in there and they take half the tooth out. Well, has the pain gone in your rotten tooth? Yes or no? Yes, but is it because there's less information there because you've changed your diet at the same time? You know, you have to, with all things that are requiring a lot of effort for a small marginal diminishing returns kind of response, you have to find a way to quantify things if you want to get there quicker. So I'm a big fan of tracking things. Now, obviously, if you're doing nothing, i.e. you're idle, you're following a carnivore diet, and you do something, so you're doing some push-ups, you're adding in some pull-ups, sit-ups, that's better than nothing. So yeah, maybe at the start you don't need to sort of quantify it, because you're going to get a result, because it's more than what you're doing before. So that's my take on it, and hopefully that's helpful and useful to people to answer.
Anatomically, we all have the same structure, including our muscles and our bones and our ligaments and tendons. When we're building muscle, are we actually creating new muscle, or are we hypertrophying and giving more strength to the muscles we have?
This is where the science gets interesting, Dr. Kiltz. There's two types. We've got sarcoplasmic hypertrophy, which is increasing the plasm or the space of the muscle fiber itself. So that means you might have more nuclei, you might have more mitochondria. That cell will become bigger and bigger and bigger over time. To develop more mitochondria, to develop more muscle fiber density over time, which then means you can respond to a load in the gym, resistance, by getting bigger. A bigger muscle will, a bigger stands on a bridge will hold the bridge up better than a single stand. Over time, if you're putting bigger cars on the bridge, you're going to need to put bigger stands, bigger, what they're called, columns and things to hold it upright. Bigger, that's a stronger structure. Now, the other side of things that they call is sarcoplasmic, is hyperplasia. So that means more muscle cells. Now, I believe when you get to a point where that muscle cell is no longer has a possibility or capability to adapt to a big enough size, will then create more muscle fibers, so then they can sort of flourish and grow bigger. So it's a multifactorial thing, and the science is quite limited here, because how are you going to test people like A versus B person, and how individual responses are to things like this? But I will mention that there's about 20% non-responder rate in resistance trained individuals. So some people, no matter how hard they train, even if I coach them, give them all the supplements, all the proteins and crap in the world, they'll only get so muscular, and that's their set point. The same way we can get people that are a certain body fat, or same way we can get people that just happen to always get ill. No matter how well they try to execute their mitochondrial program, their DNA, and transcribe different proteins, they've got limited, finite capacity to develop. So I'm not coming on here saying everyone can be Mr. Olympia, but everyone on here can get better than what they were before.
Sure.
So one is strength and one is size, right?
Essentially, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question, Alia.
There's overlap, but yeah.
Yeah, got it.
Smiling.
Yes.
Smiling. Jonathan, do you have any dairy?
Yes, I quite like dairy. I think it's a useful addition to people's diet if you can tolerate it. I think I know this is a bit of contrasting opinion to a lot of people out there. They say, don't drink other mammals' milk and this, that, and the other. The thing is, it does have things like globulins, and things like transferrin, which are useful for helping to improve people's, how to put it, microbial diversity. Has useful fatty acids, can help increase insulin, which can in turn help increase appetite. So there's a few different useful tools that you can, or instances where you might use dairy as a tool. My suggestion to people is just not have so much that it's, beyond the point of satiety, because people can find it hyperpalatable. I noticed my key word here, hyperpalatable. I didn't say addictive, because dairy is not addictive. It's not. I made a video which outlined that. So people talk about the casein morphine. So one person made a video about 5 years on the carnivore diet saying, we found one animal casein compound called BCM7, and that is what's causing addiction for people with dairy. But it's not. It's just dairy is nice. Like, most people enjoy dairy. What we found is in 100 grams of animal protein from dairy, they found that the casein morphine content basically equates to something like 1.35 milligrams per 100 grams. And these peptides, this BCM7, the casein morphine BCM7, is basically broken down once it reaches your gut. So it does not have an active effect on the brain, the neurology of, and how it outlines in case of addiction. What we also found is, funnily enough, you're looking at 1.35 milligrams per 100 grams of dairy. So that's, let me think. Codeine, if you're from the UK, a codeine tablet is typically 8 to 30 milligrams. That's not that addictive. So it's a misnomer that people need to stop spewing. It's not that casein is addictive, it's just a nice food that people happen to eat too much of sometimes. So I wanted to point that out, because people still say the same thing, but it's not where the science lands, if that makes sense.
Well, the word addiction, maybe you could, because we use the word addiction in a negative way. I mean, you can't live without breathing. Can you live without drinking water?
If you're fat adapted enough and you're in the right conditions and your genetic heritage allows you to, and you hydrate through the animal fat, and there's raw food in your diet particularly, so you've got more water content in the meat that you're eating, potentially, yeah, that is possible that someone could be out there, maybe a very small person that isn't sweating much, to deal with a water-free diet, as long as they hydrate through the food they're eating and they're fat adapted.
Right. Interesting. So I mean, basically, milk from a breast to a baby is an addiction, in the sense of it's not easy for them to give it up. I mean, that's why when you wean a child, but do we call addiction to things that we naturally would consume, right?
Yeah, breathing. I mean, imagine being addicted to breathing, getting told off for it.
Yeah,
that wouldn't be very fun, would it?
Uncle Charlie, should I cut out butter if I have fat on me? Thanks.
You should cut out fat if you've got too much fat on you. Fat. So when I say fat, I mean a food containing a large amount of fat. Also all carbohydrates, obviously, because, but I'm imagining Uncle Charlie as a carnivore, animal based, but if you're close to zero carb, low carb, what you want to reduce fat is fat. Fat, when it goes in the body in excess, will turn into fat. De novo lipogenesis sort of thing. The butter itself isn't the problem, but I would say if someone's exclusively getting their fat in their diet only through butter, that might be a bit of a problem. Just because the animal fat, the saturated fat itself, does have properties which are unique to it, which are helpful to a human being.
Lizzie would like to know what addictive ingredients in them hot chips, and kids love them. Oh, am I muted? Can you hear me?
No. Ali, you mentioned what ones they were. So monosodium glutamate and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and I think like probably high fructose corn syrup. There's a couple other ones, and then the right combination of seed oils and sugar.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
uh,
good answer.
Yeah.
We don't. The thing is, we don't
because
have
it
those
said
food in
fat,
our food.
but
We
it's
don't
seed
have
oils.
those ingredients for a lot of the time. So, for example, our processed food panel might have like 3 or 4 addictive things. Yours might have 10 over in the US. So,
Yeah. Uh, David, I just want to stop being obese. Only thing I'm struggling from is knowing if I'm eating enough or eating too much. I come from binge eating background and don't trust my hunger signals. I think he said he's been on carnivore for 11 days. Here we go. 11 days in fluctuating down 4 kilos from the starting weight. That's great.
that's very good. My recommendation to people to lose excess body weight is at an amount of 0.5 to 1% of their total body weight per week. So if someone is 200 pounds, at most, you probably want to lose about 2 pounds a week, and that's the amount you can lose safely, effectively, quite reliably, without losing muscle mass, in my opinion. In regards to binge eating, it's been 11 days, my friend. That's all. It's been 11 days. The fact you've made any decision at all is commendable, to be honest. So, I just keep going as you are, watching these live streams and just be around like-minded people. But do you guys have a take on that at all?
I'm healthy and well, and I love my body. I love hanging out with Jonathan, going to the gym, and I eat meat. My bias is leaner meat in the time of weight loss, but you add some fat, you get more satiety also. But mindset, I'm healthy and well. I love my body, and hang out with Jonathan. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. It's a mindset thing, ultimately.
Yeah.
Brian, Jonathan, is there somewhere we can watch your competition?
Which one? My next one's in October.
Well,
And
Or the last one
are
online?
there videos? Are there videos of
he
your
has access to the last
competition?
one online.
Where can they find it?
Nice.
It's in a WhatsApp chat. I don't really post much stuff like that, but what can I say? I mean, these things aren't televised. Everyone always asks me, do you have more
Okay.
pictures, more foot? The thing is, I'm on stage and as a bodybuilder, I'm reliant on someone else to take a video or a photo. Most of the time they don't. I can't do anything about it. So the best I can do is hope someone else sends me some photos from
Yeah.
their family. It's one of those awkward things where it's like, well, I can't do anything.
Okay. David is saying, Jonathan, do you know anything about Grease, the Groove by Pavel? I can't read that name. Doing suboptimal rep maxes, but more frequently. For example, doing 10 push-ups 10 times in a day for 100 push-ups a day. And I don't have the other part of that question. So,
Yeah, so yeah, I'm very familiar. It all works if it's something more than what you're doing before. Some people like the challenge of doing 100 reps, but what happens if you stop at 99? What happens? Do you get what I'm saying? I wouldn't worry so much about this objective. Worry about effort, not the number. So that's why I don't count reps. So as soon as someone starts talking about reps, I try to take them away from that distraction, because it's not an objective measure, because you can't quantify a rep. I'd much rather see David do 10 repetitions in one day, but make sure those 10 are absolutely picture perfect, then take his time with each and every one so his muscle fibers feel every bit of that load. Trying to push for a certain number can lead people to get like a distraction effect where they're looking at the number rather than the effort. The muscles do not know reps, they just know effort, tension, progressive overload. Find a way to do an amount of reps, whether that be 10, 15, 20 a day, whatever it is. Could be 100 if you're good at them, I don't know. But try and make that 100 as hard as possible. And if you're always doing 100 reps every single day, you're not giving your body a chance to recuperate, one. You're also not giving your body a point in time where you can say, I've progressed over time. Because if, David, you're doing 100 reps today, and 3 months down the line you tell me, my elbows are sore, I'll be telling you, well, no kidding. No wonder why. You do. You're gonna have sort. That's where you have to quantify effort. So if you're quantifying the effort that you do, you can quantify how much or how little or how much you can frequently train. So if by week 3 of doing this, your elbows are trash, but you still want to do it to hit that 100 arbitrary number, you're spinning your wheels, and that's how you end up doing failing, basically, in terms of not reaching your goals. So I'd encourage you to find a program that's maximising what you can do as frequently as you can safely do with good form, then find a way to effectively, safely and efficiently maximise progressive overload.
Debbie, I'm a fan of drop sets. What's your opinion, and do you work out fasted?
So drop sets are basically when you do a set. It depends who you are, until you can't do any more, or you might have an idea or a number of reps or time in your head. I'll use reps just because people will ask about reps anyway, no matter what I tell you about counting reps and how stupid it is. So say you do 5 reps, then you might do 10-second break, you might do 1 or 2 more, 10-second break, 1 or 2 more. That's all a drop set is. But in that drop set, you'll actually find a way to reduce the load. So you might do 5 reps of 100 kilos, 2 reps of, say, I don't know, 50 kilos, then, I don't know, 1 rep of 30 kilos. So you lower the intensity as time goes on. You lower the load each time you progress through the set. I prefer to do, out of a safety element and a tracking the measurement element, to just do a static hold, like an isometric hold. So if you're doing a push-up, you might do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you get to 10. Then you start to struggle, okay? Well, then hold it in the locked out position, and hold it for as long as you can until you're shaking, until that push-up becomes impossible to hold. Then you know that you've maximised the tension. The problem with drop sets is you give the body a repeated recovery gap in order to sort of continue the set. Because I'd argue it's more time efficient just to keep going until you can no longer do it anymore. That's provided it's a safe sort of technique and stuff. And personally, I don't work out fasted. Anecdotally, from different experience I've had, it's a 50-50. Half people benefit from fasted training, half people benefit from fed training. Myself, I'm a large individual, I'm sweaty, I'm big, I need a lot of hydration stuff. So I prefer to have a meal before training, then train, then have maybe 3 meals after that. But it's an individual thing, there's no hard rule, and you're not going to lose out because you're doing it fasted or fed, to be honest. It's just subjective and based on your own experience. Thoughts and supplements. What supplements? They can be useful, but they might not. Depends which ones. I do use supplements, yes. Most carnivores do use supplements of some kind, whether it be magnesium, electrolytes, a protein powder.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. Health for purpose. Very lean and stronger than ever. 5'3", 112 pounds. Question: thoughts on needed body fat? As much as you need to perform your given day and feel good, and I'm guessing you're not reproducing at 71, but if you're of younger age, say 30, then enough to reproduce. I would say for a female, to feel good and feel quite confident in your body, 20% body fat. If you're going to quantify that, use a DEXA scan ideally, just so you know it is accurate. The amount of people that go out there and say they're leaner than what they are is absurd. So 20% is my suggestion for a female. It's a very, very rough guideline. It's not a rule,
Debbie's saying, my boyfriend has low T. The doctor put him on injections. I told him to eat more meat. He has terrible mood swings after he takes his shot.
Well, no one likes to be stabbed in the backside. I can't blame him. I'd say... the depot and bolus injections of testosterone can be problematic for some people. I've got a client, she might be in the chat now. She uses this as like a HRT kind of thing. She finds that, I think, the day after the shot, she feels quite good. Then it tapers off, and towards the end of the week, she feels trash. People do metabolize drugs in depots at different rates. Myself, I break these down at very fast rates. So for me, doing a once weekly shot would not work very well. And I wouldn't say I feel bad for like by the end of the week, but it's just not optimal in my experience. So in that case, I'd probably suggest under supervision. I'm not your medical doctor. Please check your physician stuff, whatever. Try and split the doses up so it's a bit more frequently. That lowers the peak max value, so the amount in your bloodstream and your tissues at a given time, but it helps even out the injection period, so you're not having this peak and valley in that sense. But again, not medical advice.
Eat the meat. Exactly, because the problem is the plants and lean meat damage the hormone secreting organ systems like the ovaries, testicles, adrenals, and the thyroid glands. So eat meat.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is the last question so far. I'm flat-footed, which seems to have rendered me with a bad back and shoulder imbalance. What would you suggest for instability and asymmetrical people?
We're all asymmetrical. We're all perfectly imperfect. I've got the same problem myself with things. Flat-footed stuff. I mean, you look at barefooted shoes. Try to make sure if you wear a shoe that the toe box is wide enough for your feet, so your toes aren't like crossed over like that sort of thing. In terms of shoulder imbalances, they tend to be seem to stem from higher up into the neck. You've got three muscles in your neck, like major muscles in your neck, and make sure they're all sort of stretched out. So when I do my workouts, I actually stretch out my neck to relax the neck, so they're not activating isolaterally when I'm training. Because I'm not like, say I've slept funny like that, I don't want that when I'm doing a bench press, because that's going to cause problems downstream. So try and like stretch out your body parts. Stretches should be held for at least 30 seconds, otherwise they're near enough useless, unless it's a pre-workout dynamic stretch. Other than that, you may need to get scans to see if there's any kind of structural issue itself. Outside of that, you'd have to speak to a chiropractor, but that's my best bet. A little bit out of my depth just because I'm not a chiropractor, but there might be a good idea to speak to one of them, at least get some scans done. So
acupuncture, chiropractic,
should we just do a couple more?
massage.
Oh.
Yeah, let's finish up with a couple more questions.
yeah.
Uncle Charlie, is it okay to eat 2 pounds of lamb a day and put butter in my coffee? Thank you.
I don't know. Uncle Charlie always does this and asks daft questions, and I tell him off for it.
Charlie, you need to call with one of our coaches.
I mean, if he does it for like 3 months and he's the same body weight and he still feels good doing it, there's not a problem there. You don't need to solve it. Lamb is a good source of nutrition. Butter can be helpful if you need a bit of extra fat. Coffee, hit or miss. It probably won't kill you, but it might not help. I'm quite indifferent to coffee. I don't really have a preference. I don't know. It's one of those I can't tell you jobs, you know. Oh, thank you, Joe. Much appreciated. That's the girlfriend sending me some coins.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's what I'm talking about.
Love it. Love it. Love it.
Brett, if we still have low T after being carnivore for years, what's the best foods to raise it naturally? I don't want to get on shots.
This is very much Dr. Kilt's question, so I'll be interested in hearing his 2 cents on this.
Stop measuring. Stop measuring.
Yeah.
The measurement, it's all measurements are geared to sell you something. And that's the problem. I feel great. My testosterone levels are low, but I feel great. And so I'm convinced we're just creating a marketplace to convince you, like, oh my God, you can't live like that, which I think is all bunk.
Yeah. Also, with these questions, if you're giving out a number, remember it's based on normative range. Now, if I came on here and I asked Dr. Kilt's question, if I said, Dr. Kilt's, my testosterone is 1,400 on the scale. It's higher than the range. Am I doing it wrong? I feel great. I'm going to bed each night. I've got libido. You know, I'm recovering well, I'm training, getting stronger. Is there a problem there? That's what you need to worry about. Is there a physiological problem that's stopping you from doing what you need to do? Yeah, I
that's
don't think
really,
it's a food. I don't think it's a supplement that will help. It's just being healthy and mindful of your diet and stresses and lifestyle.
the biggest problem is we're asking these questions in an environment that you must be careful of your answers. And in essence, there are people with low or high that might have pathology that needs to be evaluated. And the actual
Mm.
diagnostic testing and treatments have their own pathology. This is part of the problem. So I stopped measuring. I feel great. Maybe it's a little entertaining at times, but that's about it. So, but we welcome everyone today. And Jonathan, thank you for being here. Always entertaining, but building our mind and our body. So I'm
Thank you
traveling
very much.
today.
Thanks everyone
I'm
for being here.
traveling. Yeah, I'm traveling to
Yeah.
the East Coast. I should be on tomorrow morning. We'll see what time. But Mitch is on at 7 a.m. Eastern time. I may be on at 6, but certainly I'm working to be on at 9 a.m. Eastern time with Alia. And who do we have on tomorrow, Alia?
Uh, the lady just canceled right before, so it's a free for all. It'll be a free for all tomorrow at 9 a.m. Whoever wants to join us.
All right, we'll do an open panel for sure. And then Friday, who's on Friday?
Ken Berry.
All right,
Hopefully the lambs don't get in the way.
let's bring your questions, everybody, tomorrow. Let's put them in the chats. Let's get them sent to Alia at drkiltz.com. And that'll be
Oh
really,
yeah.
really, really awesome. So, Jonathan, thank you. Thank you. Where can people find you?
Yeah, so my YouTube channel for free content, I've got something like 900 videos. Less than 1% of the content I put out and information I put out
Wow.
is behind a paywall.
Yeah.
My website is carnivore-muscle.com, which is on the screen here. You can find me for coaching, ebooks, consultations, all very affordable, and you don't have to pay as much as Paul Saladino, and you'll look better than him as well. So, what's not to love?
I love it. We love our good friend Jonathan. So, all right, everybody, we'll see you.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers to you. See you tomorrow morning, Ali. See you, Jonathan. God bless everybody.